Hey YouTube, how's it going? Lawler here as always, and back for some RLCS top 10 power rankings. If you guys are new here or you aren't familiar with how this works, let's give you a brief example. For those that have not been here before, RLCS top 10, we do my list as well as the community's list. What we do is we make a poll. Open 2 has now officially been completed. NA wrapped up this past weekend, as you guys saw in my recap video yesterday. So we have the ability to now say, all right, we've seen all these teams at least twice against the top tier competition. Who is performing the best? This is the previous list. This is how things played out. We're going to make some adjustments. We're going to shift some things around and see how we feel now that we've got a bit more of a sample size. Basically playing it out as if we are seeing a playoff bracket, and the teams ahead are the ones that I would say in a head-to-head usually play out. It's the easiest way for me to kind of put things together because always gets way too complicated. Both at the same time are honorable mentions and pretty similar sentiments. GK, I think a lot of us have some concerns about. I think GK in particular has shown that they have very good peaks and are very, very talented. But then we also see the video of like 6 people triple committing on a challenge, and like their Swiss results are like chaotic and they have really low lows. To me, GK is the epitome of peaks and valleys. I think they have all the potential and all the talent in the world, but then there's sometimes where I scratch my head and I go, what the heck is going on? What is the disconnect here to why you can't do that all the time? And I don't know what it is. I'm excited to find out. Makes for a very exciting Open 3. In my honorable mention, I also have Space Station in that same regard, because I do think Space Station on LAN, when they were doing their thing, did look really polished and really solid. But then we also see them conceding to new rosters. Is it a playstyle thing? Is it something else? I got dealt a dish of humble pie because I do think Space Station and has been in their performance looking better. But then I also see some faults and some errors and some things that are being exploited. So again, having multiple iterations and multiple results is great. The one team that I will be adding 1000% to one of the drop-down menus is MIBR. MIBR was a close second, third overall in the honorable mentions. I think some people potentially wanted to put them up a bit higher. I did balance out the honorable mention votes for MIBR versus the teams kind of in this range, and they did not outweigh. I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for MIBR and what they're doing over in South America. If you've not been paying attention to South America, especially with all the roster changes between Team Secret and stuff, MIBR has been playing pretty dang good, and I think it's going to make all of those teams better. And then last but not least, you guys have Man City Esports as well. We'll talk more about them in a bit here. So that's where we're at. For your guys' number 10, you guys have, ironically enough, Space Station Gaming, which I don't necessarily disagree with. All the conversations that I had, I think Space Station's still plenty talented. I think they've got a lot of opportunities. I would assume Xperi and those guys bounce back and secure the 4th spot in North America over the likes of someone like a Gen G, who we will not see on the list today. But again, I think NA right now, NRG, Shopify, Redacted. Shopify, Redacted, you can make your arguments on who's ahead in NA, and then Space Station should be the 4th team going to the major for the region. I, on the other hand, put a little bit more weight into this one because I do think of how they're playing. It opens up the door a little bit. I think it is tough to argue against Man City Esports. Now, results-wise, points-wise, they are sitting outside of the top 5. They're in a really tough predicament, but when I looked back at their strength of schedule and the teams they're losing to, it's super close. The difference maker for this team is on LAN against a young team, they got reverse swept. I think that says something for Novo, but if you take and look at their strength of schedule, the teams they've competed against, everybody that they're up against, I mean, that Man City team is putting up a fight against every single team. They're super competitive. They're probably the one team in EU that I want to avoid middle bracket. If you're in the 2-1 round of Swiss, if you're trying to fight for a top 6 spot, Man City is the team I want the least if I have a high strength of schedule. If I'm one of the top 3-4 seeds, like an NIP or a Mates or a Vitality or something, Man City is not who I want to play. Like, shoutouts 2 Danes, 1 Bruv. They're a damn good team. And I think the kickoff LAN got away from them because I look at Man City Esports and I say, okay, you beat Novo, you then bump into that next step. I think you can maybe make it into the top 4. So a lot of what ifs in that regard, but I do think looking at just at their collection of results over the last, 2-3 weeks, they've looked pretty dang good, and the losses that they're taking, they're putting up a really good fight. So you're going to see a lot of similarities in that and some of the teams I talk about in the future. So that's what I've got for number 10. I think they're very deserving and underrated for that reason. And Number 9 for the community, you guys had Ninjas in Pajamas, which I think is a pretty solid fit. I think Ninjas in Pajamas overall have proven that they can be super competitive. I think they've shown consistencies. But I do think now that teams have gotten used to them, they've got to take that next step. I think people have gotten used to the play styles and the aggression and what they come with as a team. I don't know if it's the Yora's curse that they finally broken, but there's always going to be that slight hesitation in me looking at this team and go, I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit concerned with NIP. Still a really talented team. Still a really competitive team. Still fully capable of going and making a run. But I think now that other teams in EU have found their footing, they're probably going to get leapt in front of a little bit. Like, I look at this team versus like a Vitality. I don't know if I'm as convinced in NIP as I once was. Even with Vitality still giving me a little bit of, I don't know if I'm fully convinced on them too, despite the results showing in their favor. So that's where I'm at. My number 9, ironically enough, though, is Vitality. I think in a head-to-head, I don't think Vitality can continue to rely on just Zen. There is a disconnect that I'm seeing in Vitality, albeit, hey, they're finding themselves top 4s convincingly. They're still performing well overall. Matter of the fact, whether you like them or not, whether you think they're playing well or not, the results are there. They are getting the wins they need to. They're controlling their fate. They're going perfect in Swiss. They're winning their top 6 match, going into top 4. Like, for the most part, Vitality is doing what they need to do in order to get themselves to the major. And I can't knock them for that. That being said, I think they're super reliant on Zen. There is a good connection between Zen and Stizzy. There's a good connection between Zen and Exotic. But the Stizzy to Exotic thing seems to be a bit of a weirdness that they haven't really figured out. At times you see it. At times the demo plays open up. At times you see solo plays and space to work with. I think, and this is just me kind of doing some rough assessment. I haven't really sat down and like deep dived their replays. But it feels like Exotic is used to playing with Monkey Moon and like learned that with Monkey Moon, you sit super close to the next player so you can win the 50 immediately after. And if Exotic would be just a little bit further back and let the play develop, he would have a cleaner shot or you would have a cleaner attempt or approach to the ball. It might change up some things. It would also make it so there's not this weird disconnect of like cutting each other off and stuff. I don't know. Vitality's still really good, and that's why I have them at number 9, but I do feel there's some things that they're doing that I go, hey, it's you gotta rely on Zen, and I don't know how confident I can be in fully relying on Zen all the time, despite Zen being very good. So that's where I'm at. At number 8, y'all have Team Vitality. Y'all have Vitality. Who do I have at number 8? Just a bit of a difference of opinion. We're in alignment. We're very close. I think all of us, even from looking at the polls and stuff, 6 through 9 was really tough for a lot of us. The numbers were very close. We're all within like 2 to 3% of votes, depending on some people. Some people like completely threw it and threw teams way too low, and it messed things up. But for the most part, we're pretty in alignment so far. I think makes sense. Number 7, you guys have the new kids on the block, the unsigned heroes in Redacted, which again, I think for a team that's unsigned, they've pretty much controlled everything that they're supposed to. Admittedly, and I talked about this in my video yesterday, if you haven't checked it out and you want more details on it, I won't spend too much time on it. I had concerns about Talk and Wavy under high pressure circumstances. I think when there is this expectation or when they get to a certain thing, Talk's biggest criticism for me is he is a little bit boost inefficient. He uses way too much boost. There will be times where he's using boost just to get more boost and it creates an issue and they get suffocated. Saw that a lot against the Energy Series, but then again, everybody in that Energy Series looked like they were going to get smacked. That being said, upset wins and able to carry through and play a really close series against Shopify Rebellion. Although on the open one in the kickoff lane, they lost to Shopify Rebellion, they still showed that they can be competitive and they can do it in the bright lights in front of a crowd against international competition. I think Redacted's got a really good playstyle that will carry them far if they can recreate it on land, because it is risky. It's very fluid and it's very like, hey, I've got the rock, let me do something crazy. I mean, shoot. I think a lot of people think Talk stole the show with his flip reset play that he had, I think in the semifinals, but they're talented. There's so much talent on that team. And I think right now, it's not that they have this like crazy structured playstyle. It's just very fluid, go with the flow, do what you want, which is really exciting. I think Redacted's a lot of people's favorite team to watch and play. Like, it's a shame that they're unsigned, but I'm hoping with everything that they find themselves in Boston with a dedicated org that's going to be around for a while. Like, imagine if Redacted got picked up by like a Liquid or a G2 or something like that. A team that's going to be around and that can support them. I don't foresee that being the situation, but I would love for that to happen. I think the guys know their worth. I think they feel very confidently, especially with the fall-offs with Space Station and Gen G. They look really solidified as a number 3 right now. Very exciting for them going to the major. I would love for that to happen. I think it's impossible not to root for Wavy. That kid is so infectious, and he's so positive about everything. But yeah, really big fan of the Redacted boys. Hopefully they can make it back. Again, 2/3 of that team being the Shopify, even with Memory sticking around as their coach. Hard not to root for them. I think it's a good shout. My number 7 is going to be actually another EU team. I'm going to go with Gentlemates. A lot of people a little bit confused about this one. My big spiel about Gentlemates is similar to Man City. I look at their strength of schedule. I look at their teams that they've been playing. They've been playing KC very, very close, I'm pretty sure. I think it's been going to game 7 almost every single time. I've got to double check that before I make a fool of myself. People in the comments are probably already doing that. Liquipedia has been loading really slow the past couple days. Let me confirm that for sure. Ninjas in Pajamas and Man City. So they've had 3 losses in Swiss. In their first one, which we saw a little bit kind of a topsy-turvy because the season started off with them looking absolutely dominant. Then people kind of adjusted to the high aggression. They went to 5 against Man City. They lost to NIP in 4. And then they beat Cloud. They beat GK. They beat Magnifico in 7. They took Vitality to 7. And they got knocked out there. So in their big matches and their losses for a top 6, they went to 7. And then in Open 2, a loss to Vitality again. So Vitality's actually had their number. But outside of that, WIP, they beat and got revenge on Man City. So they went 3-1 against Man City in the most recent event. And then they beat GK again in top 6. And then they went to 6 against K-Corp. And in that game against K-Corp, 1, 2, 3, 4 1-goal games. So I think they've played the competition pretty close. I think maybe you can make some adjustments, but I think these 3 are really tough to pick out. So I think Mates is good. I think they're competitive. There's just been moments where they've kind of gotten outshot. And again, I think Mates is a really good team, but haven't been able to win the convincing ones. I would really like to see, honestly, Mates and Vitality match up against each other in Open 3. Because I think that could be a decider one. I think that could be a really good confidence booster for Mates if they can get that win, but Vitality's had their number. So I'm choosing to believe in Mates. Just a personal opinion on it. Up next, who do you guys have for number 6? You guys also believe in Mates. You guys have Mates. Similar regard, it looks like. I think you guys are seeing what your eyes are telling you, and you think, hey, this team's got a lot of peak potential. I think Oski and those boys continue to do well. Fair enough. Fair enough. You guys believe in it too. We don't need to spend more time on it. I, ironically enough, have the inverse. I'm going with proven results. Hey, you guys have done well. You've played on LAN. You've controlled stuff. You've gotten the wins. Would you say the competition's a little bit deeper in EU? Probably. So I can understand the reasoning here. But I think we've been very, very close across the board so far. Number 5. You guys have a pretty obvious pick, I think, here in Shopify Rebellion. I think I have the exact same, if I remember correctly. I do. I think Shopify Rebellion, again, I'm happy to admit when I was wrong. I've been very harsh on Shopify Rebellion, and I know that. Watching them on the kickoff LAN, I just was not convinced in the playstyle. There were certain things that they were doing that I was just like, man, this is not confidence for me in the way that they're playing and their approach and stuff. The ultimate reality is the only thing that matters is wins, and they're winning. They are getting close matches. They're playing competition to a degree. Obviously, a lot of people are probably going to knock down Shopify a little bit, or maybe possibly bump up Redacted, because Redacted finally got revenge in a game 7. Super close. Could have easily went. From the experience now that I've been coaching very directly, I think in game 7s, when you're playing back and forth, it is the epitome of a coin flip. At the end of the day, it's like you don't really see super convincing last second ones where teams just run away with it. I'm going to go with the veterans for that reason, but I do think there could be arguments made. I do like the fact that the community list is a little bit more spread out between EU and NA, and some put in there. And realistically, mates versus Redacted, yeah, I'd probably maybe go mates, but it's tough to argue with the results and the international experience. Maybe that comes and provides a benefit, but I do think mates on LAN would be terrifying if that team got to go all LAN. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to go with Shopify. I'm happy to eat my words and admit I was wrong. Shopify did very, very well and is looking like a true number 2 in NA, which is good. Our top 4, I think, are identical, if I had to guess, because I think top 4 is maybe you make an argument for one or the other, but I don't think you can at this point, and we are the same. So I'm going to reveal all of these and then fill them in for you guys and kind of just talk openly, as we do have the same thing, and kind of speed up this video because I know you guys have been waiting for a bit. Let's discuss Mina, and then let's discuss the top 2. So we'll separate these in 2 categories. First, in Mina. Twisted Mind started really, really hot hand. They looked really good. I think, again, Nubo and TRK together is a scary and terrifying thing to think about. And Monkey Moon, out of the gate, seemed to slot in and fare very well for the team. While both have faltered, Twisted Minds apparently offensively was not looking the greatest and not doing the best. Across the board, it's going to come down to the third and final event. And I personally believe that the Twins and Drawley individually are better. I do think that Drawley, as he gets more time and effort and as they find their voice, I think that's been the biggest fault to Falcons, is Falcons is looking for that vocal leader. And again, this is just from a third party. I don't get to hear the inside comms. I don't get to hear what they're talking about, what they're discussing. None of us know. This is armchair GM stuff from everybody. But I do feel as Falcons finds their vocal leader, the person that is going to be the person that keeps them grounded and stuff, it's only going to get better from there. I would like to assume inserting Drawley into a team is only going to make them better, and initially maybe that's where the woes were. But on the other side, Twisted Minds is no slouch either. I think a lot of people, even though we haven't got to see them in person yet, have a hard time diminishing what could be and how they look via eye test. And realistically, I think maybe you could move Shopify up, but both these teams are finding themselves in the grand finals. Both of them have already qualified for the major. Both of them will be in international competition. And I will say, hey, post major, post Boston, we'll have a much better approach to how this is going to look. But for right now, I think if you're going into Open 3, you look at Falcons and Twisted Minds, you're going to expect to see them in the grand finals. Look to see how strong they look going in. Are they winning their matches convincingly? Are they dominating their competition? Is the only really time they're faltering against each other? Do they look polished in that regard? Are the passes crisp? Are they making mechanical mistakes? Are they whiffing? Or are they working the field well? Are they winning their solo plays? Stuff like that. And I would say for the most part, yes. I think Twisted Minds offensively have looked really, really threatening. Sometimes on defense, they fall apart. Falcons looks pretty equal. I would say they're balanced across the board, but their peaks have been there as well. So it's tough to really get an assessment when you're only going up against the other team. So I'm excited to see how it goes out. I know some people have put Falcons a little bit higher, but then I just kind of go, hey, Energy has had Falcons number for a while. And I do think when I look at even against the same competition, jumping into the next part of the conversation, Energy showed us what Energy is capable of when they're motivated and when they need to win. The Energy that I saw this past weekend looks so good. So good. Even against a team like Redacted and Shopify and stuff, they looked like a step ahead. And to me, that is the caliber of expectation. What Energy looked like this last weekend is what I expect them to look like every single time. That's easier said than done for motivators and otherwise, but that is the Energy I expect and want to see every single time they hit the field. That being said, K-Corp, whether you knock them down to lowers or not, it is inevitable at this point. I've even made a thumbnail with that of Farah photoshopped a Thanos snapping his fingers about how K-Corp is inevitable. This Storyline is the exact same as last year. Same song and dance. K-Corp looks really, really good. They look like the best team in the world. But can they win? Can they do it? Batira's been to what? 18 consecutive grand finals now or something ridiculous? When is it going to be his turn? Is Energy going to stand in the way? Is Falcons going to stand in the way in K-Corp? Because it seems to be you beat you and you beat you. You beat you. The perfect little circle here where this team beats that team. I don't know how it's going to play out, but what I do know is that I'm excited. I think Open 3 should be exciting for seeds and what the seeding will do, because keep in mind, majors now are not Swiss. They are round-robin groups, only 2 advance. So the hope is that, depending on how these play out and who gets the top seed, very likely to make it in to that top bracket. So it's kind of important, ending as the number 1 seed. So for K-Corp, I think they need a top 6 to guarantee that. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to do the math again, but with 2 first-place finishes and 30 points, they're pretty locked in. I think they get 7 points, which would put them at 37. I think 42 is like the magic number, potentially. I forget what it is for certainty, but again, no, 42 is way too high. I think it is 37, but I'd have to look at the math. We'll have playoff scenarios for you guys too coming up soon, but yeah, the overall plan for this, I think, is we're going to continue to see K-Corp at the top. Energy continues to be NA's number 1 until someone can take the throne and show that they can be competitive. I do think there's teams that will step into that series potentially in the future, but as of right now, you have a clear 1 and 2. Mina, I'm going to continue to respect as a top 3 team in the world until I'm proven elsewise. So that is what I have. That is what I got for power rankings. I think, again, people are pretty convinced, but this conversation, I'm excited to find out how things kind of balance out and what teams like Mates and stuff, if they make the major, can do on land. Either way, that is what I've got for the community power rankings. I appreciate everybody partaking and sticking around in the video. I appreciate you guys all taking the time to submit and give your own opinions. If there's updates or features that you guys would like, or you would like me to make adjustments to the sheet, let me know in the comments down below. We'll continue innovating and updating on that document as time progresses. But predictions tomorrow, Open 3 for a lot of regions, basically everybody but NA this weekend. Those will be out tomorrow. Either way, if you guys enjoy the content, I appreciate it. Thanks. Consider liking, subscribe, turn on notifications. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.